I had the idea, keep the fucking mouth shut. If you do that is a different matter, So, yeah, I had to remember it was a game. In life, stand up and be proud, but in a game, you actually can't go there.
What's up, Abraham? I already introduced you to her. Told her you competed on season 41.
Well, hey, welcome,
put my
fellow
glasses
survivor.
on because oh my God, I totally recognize you now.
You gotta have your
wow,
glasses.
what an
hey, look,
honor!
we gotta have our
What
glasses
an honor!
on. No, it's
mine are so
too.
scratched and fucked that I actually just keep them off. I can't see anyway.
Yay!
What a privilege to have you both here.
I mean, it's great to meet a survivor, but it's even better to meet somebody that played in South Africa Survivor. You were hilarious on your episode.
Now that we're recording, I'll just put it out here. I don't even care anymore. I was on Tania's side the entire time, Abraham. We talked about this a little before interviewing with Chappies. We were talking about the interviews today. And I was like, I loved Tania. And you were on my fantasy team. I'm doing a fantasy league against some of the other podcasts. And you were on my fantasy league.
Oh, please tag me because I don't know how to find these things. I'm not very good with social media.
Oh, no.
Tania, I had you in my top 8. What happened? What's going on here?
You know what? It was a very simple answer. It was me. And if you'd studied my previous season, you would have known that this is 100%, And as I try and say to people, the only time you really play the game is when you lose a challenge.
Yeah, you're right.
Up until that point, I was building relationships, which I managed to do. And you get deep into people. Like Randy, we were talking about animal welfare. One of the other contestants said if he won, he would donate it to animal welfare. He'd start his own organization.
Really? Wow.
And I said, you know what? I'd give you the bloody 2 million if you start.
So
I'm just not a great Survivor player. Let's face it.
We need to start Animals for Survivor or Survivor Absolutely. For Animals, like something like that.
I would love that.
I would be a part of that instantly. Yeah, I'm promoting it here.
Yeah, every Sunday I go through to the Owl Orphanage in Feldrift, and I just go and do things. I put a little post on last night while everyone was watching it live. I was waiting because I don't have satellite, so I was watching it through a podcast with some other people 2 hours later. And this message came through to say that Tania feels the need to do some hard labor this weekend. She wants to dig some holes. I think she's going to Survivor on the farm.
It was almost like you would tell yourself great advice, and then it would be like another person would be like, "Nah, don't take that advice." But it was yourself. It was you.
Well, that's it. I mean, Abraham, you must relate to this. I mean, after half an hour, you forget those cameras are there. And
they fade in the back.
Other people can, they totally, it's like a railway track behind your house. You just forget it after a while. And then it's just people. It's just us. I mean, we're not robots. We haven't got nanobots planted in us telling us, shut the fuck up.
I was talking to one of the players was like, Abraham, what is your strategy? And I said, look, my strategy first is not to go to tribal council. Whatever it takes to go to tribal council, I will do it. And
that's the only desire.
And then they voted me out. They voted me out, and my same castmate, I said, hey, when he got voted out, I said, hey, how did that work out for you, guy? Keep the tribe strong. He was like, nah, it didn't. Because the same thing happened. I said, if you don't go to tribal, you don't vote. And
people,
you had 20.
The reality is people will do anything not to have their name on that list.
Oh yeah.
And I that. And on my tribal, when they voted me out and Dino had his little card up with Tania and he said, I liked you. I wanted to play with you, but there's no way I'm giving 2 million rand because I made a mistake by aligning with you. And I totally get that. So, I'm picking up a lot of people saying, they should have got Pinty out. I totally get why they got me out. Mm-hmm. If I wasn't me, I would have been me as well. You know what I mean?
Look,
Did you get that?
Before we get into all that, I do want to ask. I love how we've already started. Like once we start the podcast, they're just going to see all of us smiling and everything. That's literally Tania. I love that you are your true self, regardless of the game. And we're going to get to some of the beautiful messages you put in the game as well, because it really hit me hard, like in the good way. It hit me right in the heart. But I want to ask, this is kind of turned into the way we always start the show. What was it like to, be back, see Nico, you just step off the boat, you're looking across the way, you are back. And not only are you back, you're playing for 2 million RIN. So what was that feeling? What was going through your head at the time?
Interestingly enough, I wasn't as terrified as I was in my first season.
Yeah.
There's definitely, knowing that there would be familiar faces, not knowing who they were going to be, but knowing that there were going to be familiar faces. It doesn't dampen the drive. You'll still do absolutely anything. I mean, that's why we all want to play, That's why we want to be there. But it wasn't as terrifying. And I think that certainly helped. It didn't really appear so on the season, but it did help me calm down a little bit, believe it or not. I mean, I didn't go looking for idols. I didn't swap alliances. I did sort of turn on somebody who was in my little. But I mean, come on, under those circumstances, who wouldn't?
Well, you said like day one in a confessional, you're like, I know what I need to do this time. You kind of said how I need to and then instantly, like 2 confessionals later, you're like, Tania's back.
What the hell? I mean, even my shoelaces, my one was green, my one was red. The green means go. The red means shut up.
Well,
the problem was I wasn't looking at my feet. I was howling at the fucking moon.
let's talk about that alliance you brought up, because you kind of were looking at a girls' alliance day one with Pinty, which we will talk plenty about Pinty, and Teresa. Did I say her name right? Is it Teresa?
Yeah, Teresa.
So what was that something you already had in mind, looking at who was on your tribe? Okay, I'm going to get with those people and I want to form this alliance, or how did that get started and formed?
Actually, if you look at those little after voting Tania out things, sorry, I can't remember what they're called. Tevin actually alludes to the fact that he wasn't part of the 7. So okay. It wasn't a girl alliance. It was a Pinty, Teresa, myself, just because I saw those 2 girls walking off on their own as soon as we got to camp, and I followed them and suggested it. Typical Tania move again. And then I just loved Dino and I loved Felix, so they were kind of there. And then by mistake, I mentioned the group in front of Kalani. So she came on board just because I'd actually forgotten that she wasn't on board.
It didn't seem like Kalani. I thought that the entire time, because I always saw like Kalani with Teresa, and you kind of had Shona there too. And
no, Shona wasn't. Shona, Phil, and Tevin were not part of the 7.
Well, not part of the 7. I was looking kind of later on when you caught them with your spy shack, like Shona was kind of there.
Well, yeah.
I just never saw
in that group. Teresa was the only one that kind of broke my heart when I heard her being part of that system, because I thought we did have something a bit stronger. I mean, I'd stood up for her earlier. She wasn't aware of that because she wasn't there at the time, but I thought she was still in that group.
That was the thing. I never saw Killarney as being like close to you in any sort of alliance. Or every time you guys like talked, I was like, I don't think she's part of this at all.
Yeah. No, there wasn't any great love there, unfortunately. But you expect to live on an island with 10 people and get on with everybody. But it's a game, and I should have put my irritation with Pinty to one side. I mean, several people came to me and said, Tania, don't throw your game away. Even Tevin, who wasn't kind of even Tevin said, let it go.
This is going to hurt you.
I just couldn't.
It was interesting because Tevin was like, hey, just let it go. Don't let it become the focus of your game. And I saw the embrace, and it's like that was a genuine moment. And then they cut to the next episode, and you're like, nope, I'm gonna get her.
I gotta do it. I can't stay quiet. Yeah, I mean, maybe because I'm a mother of a big family, I'm just used to being that looking after people thing. I don't know. I mean, Randy, all my dogs, I'm always in that role of
what was it?
looking
Five dogs,
at
3
these.
cats?
5 dogs, 5 cats.
5 cats.
In the kids' story, I've got 2 biological and 5 fostered. So, there were quite a lot of them as well. So it's a pattern. It's a pattern.
Well, I guess we can get it out of the way because this is your interview. So I don't want to spend too much time on it. But your game did center around kind of what was going on between you and Pinty at the moment. So you mentioned how Pinty was, as a fan, one of the people you were looking forward to playing with. If you didn't play with her already, I don't know if she was on your past season.
I hadn't. No, she wasn't.
So she was someone you were looking forward to playing with. And you mentioned how, I don't know if you ever said this word, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it kind of disappointing.
I did say I was disappointed in somebody in my group.
Yes. So I want to get your side here, because the edit shows us one thing. The edit can paint you so many ways, and it might not always be truthful in the end. So I want to get your perspective of what exactly was going on, because I agree. Like I said, I agree with a lot you said. Food is a serious issue. That is something that's Abraham, you probably know as well.
Warmth is an important issue.
Food. This is stuff you just don't mess around. And this, I'll get Pinty's later on in the season, her point of view. But what was your point of view of what was happening? And I love the message that you were kind of giving. Like, I'm not gonna, yes, it affected your game, but I'm not just gonna sit down and shut up. This is something that needs to be addressed, and it looks like I'm going to be the person who addresses it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's being perceived that it was Pinty against Tania. It actually wasn't. And if you watch carefully, it was Pinty against everybody. She flared up at everybody at some point in those few days. The only difference is nobody bit back. I mean, one night somebody moved a piece of fire and she said, "Fuck, who moved the fire?"
See, you don't get to see that on the TV. It's the editing.
Yeah, nobody spoke up. Whereas when she did that to me, I said, "I fucking moved the piece of fire. Why?" Yep. So, I wasn't the only person that she was biting at. I was the only person who bit back.
Well, that's the funny thing too. Sorry to interrupt, but I wanted to put this out there. That's the funny thing is you're giving that speech about everybody is, it was the title of an episode. So there you go. Everybody's walking on eggshells around you. And you see people who are kind of just sitting back there like, oh gosh, here comes a rant and stuff. But then we see them in a confessional literally say, it's a mess between the two, but Tanya's kind of making sense. Well, if Tanya's making sense, then why don't you stand up, and take her side?
Yeah. And I felt exactly the same. I had people come to me and say, "Oh, I'm really sorry, but everyone's putting your name down." And I was like, "But if you like me, why are you putting my name down? Why don't we get her out?" Yeah, it was a tough one. It was really tough. But again, it's a game, and she's 30 years old. I'm 55. It does make a difference, and the reality is, I don't know.
No, I saw you. I
would rather put up with my irritation than her selfishness.
Mic drop.
For me, she played a selfish game, and it wasn't on.
I saw you in the very first challenge out there in that water. You was dragging the young ones down.
Yeah. Nope. Absolutely. Never say never. But
like you was having a good time.
I mean, I can't pretend I wasn't. But watching my episode last night and with a group of strangers, I was surprised at that kind of that end speech where I was sitting on the beach and I said, if you don't have pride in yourself, or I don't know what the speech was, but it made me cry.
Oh, I have the quote.
I said such a lovely thing, I mean, I can't believe I even said it. I mean, it's typical me, but wow, I mean, it blew me away. I didn't cry when I got voted out, but I cried at that. I thought, damn, that's good.
I have the quotes. I'm usually not a person who loves reading quotes because, like you said it, what you said. But I have to put this out for people. If you just kind of didn't think anything of it at the time while you were watching, I have to put these out there. It's just 3 quotes. When you lose compassion and empathy, what can you be proud of? That was one. And then if you don't have the courage, you will never win this game. And before I move on to the last one, I do want to ask you, I thought it was interesting. I realized maybe you were just done with the situation at the time. And I don't know if you felt at this moment like you were going home. Tanya, you're going home tonight. But Shona wanted, I feel like I'm saying her name wrong, but Shona wanted
right.
All good. She wanted to speak up and she wanted to tell you her side of things, but you were kind of like, no, it's not going to change anything. So why am I going to? No, I'm just saying, if you don't have the courage, you won't win this game. And Pine Tea's going to beat all of you. So elaborate on that a little bit. What was going on there? Why you didn't want to listen to Shona and the girls? And you're amazing. You can add on with that amazing Spy Shack you had. Like, well done.
Thank you. Unfortunately, there's a part of me that wishes I hadn't heard, because overhearing that made me realize I had no chance. So when I came out of that, as they came out the one side, I came straight out and confronted them, and I was actually devastated. So I was lashing out without much thought, to be honest. But it was a good line. It was a good line. But yeah, I thought I was totally out. And the problem is, and this is what I'd been dealing with Shona and Piney, and at one point I actually reference it and I say, I'm standing here talking to you, Piney, and you've got a big smile on your face. I come up and say, look, I'm sorry, we've had these bad vibes. Let's put it to the one side for the good of the tribe. Let's just keep strong. And she'd just be sitting there with this huge smile, and I just wanted to fucking smack her. I mean, come on.
Like she wasn't taking what you were saying. She was just in one ear, out the other.
Not even that. It was like a smirk on her face. And I felt that Shona was a bit, and if you look at the tribal council, the smiles that people were getting, they weren't friendly smiles. They were like, oh God, here we go again. Oh yeah, right, go for it. You know what? The first message I got, which was before I saw it, because I saw it 2 hours later, it was my son. And he said, I am so fucking proud of you, Mom.
Well, go ahead and say that. We lost you a little bit.
It's with the amount of heart you play with, and nobody can deny
you. Absolutely did.
It's about how much heart you play the game with, and nobody can deny that I played with my heart.
Well, I do have to say, I have to ask, have you ever thought about being a motivational speaker? Because you speak so well, and that's the last thing I wanted to say. Usually we wait to talk about the elimination and stuff towards the end, but I had to put this out there, Tanya. Let me, and I quote, let me throw out some survivor wisdom. A day one alliance doesn't mean that they're your friends throughout the game. They can turn into rivals, and a rival today can be an alliance tomorrow. What everyone fears the most is that 9 votes could mean nothing and 1 vote could mean everything. Right there, I was shocked. I was jaw dropped on the floor when I found out they voted you out. Because if I'm sitting there, I don't care. Sure, it might be a bad survivor move. If I'm sitting there and I'm going with the group, sorry, Tanya, I want to keep you, but I can't put my name out there to be against the group. I would have voted for Pine Tea right there based off that amazing statement you just said. Because it takes courage to kind of put that out there when you know you're on the chopping block. And it was well said.
You moved me to tears. Thank you.
Yeah, it was beautiful. And that's what I loved watching your game. And it's a lot like Chappie's and what I said about him. And this is my first time watching Survivor South Africa. And the outlook that a lot of you guys have on life is just so much more than the game of Survivor. And that's why I love that you weren't afraid to be who you are and stand up to someone who you felt was bullying. I'm going to end up crying, and I never cry. You end up
bullying the tribe.
And, without me picking sides and stuff, were you a little, not aggressive, but were you a little, step back, Tanya, before? Yeah, maybe you should have stepped back 100%. A little bit. Yeah. But it's a beautiful thing, and you should not be disappointed with standing up and, trying to take care of the tribe. I almost, before you came on here, I almost called you Mama Tanya, and I was going to say, can I call you Mama Tanya? Because you were
absolutely.
you
I'd
were
be
really,
honored.
you were really like the mother figure for the tribe. It was great. And that's one of the questions we got. We'll get to it kind of later too with the fan questions. Looking back, are you proud of the way that you played after everything, or were you wish you did something differently?
I am 100% behind the way I played, and I think I got a beautiful edit. You know, they could have showed the snotty crying face. You heard me cry, but you never saw the snot running down, and you know what I mean. So I think it was a very sensitive edit. But at the end of the day, you don't get your edit. You are the person. They just pick the bits they want to show. So yeah, I'm delighted with my game. I'm delighted with the friends I've made.
They captured a great moments in your whole game, which, you know,
Yeah.
we're out there for 24 hours and we're mad. I know when I looked at my season, I'm amazed what did make it and I'm amazed at what didn't make it, because you show the relationships that you make, even though you're coming back off of previous seasons of playing with each other, or at least meeting each other. You had, how much time did you have between your season and this new season?
I was the last season before COVID.
Oh, okay. So, and my season
I was 2019. Okay.
So 2019. So you got a chance to do that whole Survivor experience and then turn back around and say, okay, hey, we want to bring you back to do the experience all over again. And, you know, again, we get a chance to read up on everybody and say, okay, who would we pick to be where? Where do we put you?
I will say, I'm sorry, Tanya. I said pre-merge. I said pre-merge.
Yeah, I would have put myself at pre-merge. No problem there. I get it.
That was Randy at pre-merge. I had you at top 8.
Okay, well, I wouldn't blame anybody for saying pre-merge. And it's, for me, like I said, it's not about the amount of days you're in there. What is worse than coming out third? Coming out 18th and having 4 confessionals.
Yeah.
People know me. They'll remember me, whether they like me or not. They form an opinion. They'll talk about it, and hopefully that conversation goes somewhere. So I'm good with that.
When they asked you to come back, was it an immediate yes, or was it kind of let's think about it? Split second.
Split second.
It doesn't make a difference. It'll make a difference how you do on the game. If they ever call back, well, you know what? I got some unfinished business. I need to go back out there.
Well, you know, Abraham, interestingly enough, on this question, possibly not, because, you know, I've got to be realistic. At 55, I'm not an all-star. The only way they could bring me back is in another small change season, which could not be for another 10 years. So the reality is I'm never going to be on Survivor again. But Survivor, I was not made for Survivor. I'm not made to lie and cheat and push people out. I am that mama figure. I am the one who's going to motivate you when you're fucking bug bitten from top to toe and you don't think you can live another day. I'm that one that will go out and get more firewood and look after you. So I need to look at some sort of a game where it's not about getting rid of people. It's about keeping people. So something like Naked and Afraid or Bear Grylls.
You know what?
Now you're talking.
I was like, because when I was getting ready for Survivor, people was like, oh, are you going to Naked and Afraid? I don't know what kind of vibe I was giving off. I don't really know what's going on. But I would do Naked and Afraid with you. Let's do it.
I would love it. I would do it with you. Absolutely.
What's up with you South Africans and getting naked? Because Chappie's just said on the last show we did, he was talking about how he stripped down on the first day and ran naked across the beach.
Yeah, no, you see, I'm not really into that kind of naked, so to speak. No, Naked and Afraid, for us, for the fans who watch it, you don't see it.
I know. Yeah.
You know, but I'm not gonna go and hang out at the nudist beach, but I great one.
Chappie said it was something else. But I mean, you can't get away from the people that you meet and the experiences that you share. And I tell people, I said, people look at the show and they ask us a lot of questions. But when you talk to somebody that's been through the experience, we really have a different perspective of it and understand things. I don't think I've been that emotional in my life when I was on a situation where I had to pick somebody to vote out. And I was like, don't cry. And I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on with you guys? I mean, I would vote her out. Before I got to the show, I was voting everybody out. And I was like, but when you get there and you go through the experience and you're getting ready even before the game starts, we're still like, this is the greatest thing ever to be a part of. And I had a great time on my season. I'm having a great time watching the chemistry the way they put your season together between merge and pre-merge castaways was whoever
very
thought that
interesting.
Up to me was ingenious.
Yeah, absolutely. And LaRue, he's phenomenal. He listens to the fans. They want to keep it simple, but he really listened. And, this is the first time any franchise has come up with this. And it's dynamic because we're even voting tribes out, tribe members out totally differently. One is playing the All-Star game and the other is playing, a brand new game. It's very interesting dynamics. And oh my God, I can't wait. I can't wait.
It's so hard to come up with original content as well in Survivor, especially where they've done so many things. We usually see like the international seasons do, a type of season that the US has already done. Like Survivor Australia is about to do heroes versus villains. That's a concept that's been done. So the fact that he was able to find something, let's take these pre-mergers and these mergers. It was brilliant. And so far, I think it's delivering. And I wanted to ask you, did you expect past relationships to mean so much in the game this early on? Because we were kind of talking about it earlier, is how, there's so many thicker than blood bonds that are in this game. So what's your take on that and the relationships that are kind of in this game based off past relationships?
Yeah, we shouldn't be surprised that this is happening. People are going on reality shows and two of them know each other. I mean, that happened in one of the American episodes.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember names.
Yeah, my memory is terrible.
Yeah, me too. So, it definitely happens. So, of course, with social media being the way it is, that network is going to be much bigger. As a small change player, I didn't maybe have the same network that others had, but people knew my game. So already that was changing things. I mean, Chappies was going, yeah, I'd play with Tania because they see me as an easy vote that, they can take me along. I mean, nobody got to see what would happen. Do you see a goat?
No.
I don't.
So yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I never got to the stage where I could be a goat, but I just wasn't built for this game. In first season and this season, in both seasons, I actually said the word, I would sacrifice my game for you. Now I'm sorry, you can't be one of those champion players if
you joke. On day where you guys won the challenge, you won the immunity challenge, and you came back and you're like, guys, I seriously thought I'd be the first one voted out, so let's just kind of celebrate this. And I kind of laughed at that. I'm like, well, you don't want to put that out there, you don't want to say because
but in my first season, I was accused of not being emotionally aware.
Mm-hmm.
Where I just don't always choose to say, so I would have been the first. And this season I thought, we were very kumbaya. We weren't talking strategy. We were friends. I'm friends with everybody, even Pinty. I mean, she phoned me on my birthday a few days ago and chatted for about an hour, and she wants to come visit in the next month. I don't know how that's going to go. I'll obviously make sure I've got loads of food.
I was going to ask that, but
just get that in there.
I was going to ask that if you've spoken with Pinty since, but I didn't want to. Just in case it was like a rough spot, I tried to avoid it.
No,
spoken.
No, I mean I haven't spoken to her since I've seen last night's episode.
Yeah,
I spoke to her on Sunday on my birthday.
Oh, and, happy birthday, by the way. Hold on, happy birthday.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Cheers. Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised by anything. I mean, it was, I've got a little bit of flack for calling her a greedy little pig. but I also feel I was vindicated because at Tribal, she implied that I'd sworn.
Yeah. Well, that's,
and, in that context, that swear word is rude, but I hadn't. And being able to see that on TV and say, no, well, actually, I didn't. Teresa, who thought I had outed her to Tevin, we saw on TV that I actually stood up for her, and Kalani outed her to Tevin. So it's always interesting to see the TV's point of view. Love it, hate it. I'm just going to keep tuning in. I'm going to keep saying yes. I'm going to, this is what my first season did. And this is what Abraham was talking about earlier. Survivor will change your life, regardless of where you are. I came out of my season and retired. That was it. Within 6 months, I'd figured out my last child was finishing high school. I packed up everything and left. And I now live in the middle of a nature reserve in the middle of nowhere with all my animals. So Survivor is life-changing. And that's what we get out of it. It's far more than money. And I don't mean to undermine the money. The money would be great, but it's not about the money. And if you're coming in playing thinking the money is the only thing, you're wrong.
Well, that's the thing. Like, super fans notice it
from this.
The casual fans don't usually notice it as much, but that's something Abraham can attest to this. We always preach that on this show, and Abraham's opened so many doors for me, and like with the fact that he was actually on Survivor and how it works and all that. And it's kind of opened my eyes. But this game, like you said, so much more than the money. It's a game of the memories that you create are ones that stay with you throughout your entire lives. The relationships that you get from this game are, they're basically family. They're a second family for you.
Absolutely.
And it's just, it's beautiful, the relationships and everything you get from this game. And that's why I love asking people this question. Before I let Abraham make his point here, what are you going to take from your 2 experiences in this game? Because I bet you left with a lot more eternally than what you did if you would have left with the money.
What I take from this game is, to be honest, and I hate to say this because if LaRue phoned me up tomorrow, I'd say yes. I probably shouldn't play Survivor again. I do need a nurturing environment, I think.
Yeah.
And to go back 3 times, the reality is I'd probably play the same game all over again. Would I do it? Of course. Would you want to see it? Hopefully. Would it change? I doubt it.
Don't change.
I don't want to. I mean, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Old dog.
Hey, we're still getting younger. We're getting better. They're just not. Randy is barely aging. We're getting better. I know that looking at season 41's cast and looking at season 42, I would have shifted to 42 because it fit who I was better. So I can understand what you're saying. The people make the game. Everybody says, hey, I want to go out. I want to play this game this kind of way. You first have to take in consideration the people around you because they're going to dictate how you play your game. Now, you may have played in a different season and top 8. Different seasons, different group of people. It's just, but that's the beauty of the game of Survivor. Over the last 3 months, I've had a chance to go and hang out with some of my castmates. And I only met them out in Fiji last year. And now I'm like, hey, no, happy birthday. Oh, good to see you. Hey, no, I'll come next year or I'll come visit. We'll come hang out. It's a great experience that never dies. That I'm gonna say with that, because the people that you meet always are around somewhere. Like Pinty. Hey, I just talked to her on Sunday for my birthday. And unfortunately, sometimes people don't see that part of it. They just see what's portrayed on TV. And that's the unfortunate part that, hey, we are people and we do get to interact in each other's lives. Some people will never get along.
Some people leave. They leave the game so petty after being voted out. I'm like, why waste that opportunity to become part of this second family over a game?
It's a game. And this is what, and I get that it's big stakes, but again, it's not about the bloody money.
And I love how people get so mad. Well, I can't like this person because they voted me out. They lied to me. It's a game all about lying. I promise you, everyone in this
lying
game,
and cheating.
And you might have people who are like, well, I didn't lie that entire time. Okay, maybe you didn't lie, but you withheld information. which is just, as much lying. If they ask you what happened between you two, you're not going to tell them everything. So like, it's a game of lying. You can't look at it like these people are terrible because they lied to you or they voted you out. Because if you do
just
that,
played a better game.
Exactly.
They just played a better game. Simple.
The title of the show is Outwit, Outplay, Outlast. Somewhere in there, you're going to have to do something to get one of those three done.
Absolutely.
It's a blast just to get that phone call, that very first phone call.
I'm still waiting for it. I'm still waiting.
Oh my God. I'll keep my fingers crossed, Randy, because it is life-changing. I mean, I cannot stress enough. You will never look at life the same way. And for me, it's just given me so much. It's given me so much joy.
Hey,
we were in the middle of the pandemic, so everything was hyper. You got to make sure you don't have COVID. And I said, until I got on the plane to go to Fiji, I'm in LA, we're waiting, we're testing. And then you get on the plane and you're like, wait a minute, I'm actually going to play the game of Survivor. I've watched other cast members play this game, and I'm like, wait a minute, I'm a part of the family now. No matter where we're at in Australia or we in South Africa, we're part of the same family. We're part of the Survivor franchise that most people will never get a chance to play. Don't know how they selected me. So when people actually said, well, what did you do? I was like, my tape was so short and to the point. I don't know what they got out of it to say, you know what, we're going to try this guy here. But I'm thankful I was a part of it. I'm thankful for the people I get a chance to not only meet, but still be a part of their lives and have a great adventure through them. I was out riding a horse last month on a ranch in Wyoming.
Lovely.
I was out with the cast and stuff. I mean, and it's been a blast being a part of this whole family type orientation. Then on top of that, we get to meet you.
Yay!
You can't beat this.
I love the dogs. I love it. Yeah, Abraham was so nice to come on the podcast with me. And we've been covering US, Australia, and now South Africa. And it's just, I mean, we spoke about this a little earlier. I can't remember if we were recording yet or not, but it's so cool to see the differing ways that every, nation plays. Like, it's so cool to see how the game is different. And I'm hoping that maybe now that I'm interacting with South Africa and Australia, now I have even more of a chance to play the game of Survivor in some shape or form or somehow someday.
I hope so. I mean, I'd like to see a Tri-Nations. I mean, a lot of people
just had that talked about that.
Yeah, I mean, that's for everybody in South Africa. We look up to the the American franchise as being the great daddy of Survivor. And then we love the hard, sweat and grit of Australia. I mean, you can't go wrong.
We do have some fan questions for you. Are you ready to answer a couple of these?
Yeah, sure. Little quick fires.
Yeah, little quick fires. I got a couple here that I picked out for you. So EJ, and first, thank you guys so much for sending in your questions. We really do appreciate it. Not only watching the podcast, but also watching Survivor South Africa. So EJ asks, rather you have played the way you did or been able to tone down your personality in exchange for making it further? So we kind of talked about this earlier. You were proud of the way you played, but if you could go back now looking at it, if you could tone it down to go farther in the game.
I would tone it down to go further.
Mm-hmm.
Could I? No. Would I? Yes.
That's why I said if you could, because I feel like that's
if it was possible, yeah, I would, of course.
That's what I love about you as a player is I absolutely love that you'd go back, you would get like a time machine and you'd be like, okay, you know what not to do. And then something would happen.
Do exactly the same thing. Yeah, absolutely.
And then the second question I got for you is from Matt. What was your relationship with Felix this time around? And I'm happy someone asked this because like I said, not watching the previous seasons, I couldn't ask really much about this, but what was your relationship with Felix this time?
It was really, really tight. After they filmed our finale, the live finale, he came up to me. I was outside as like this nobody player. I'd come out 6 in the game. I'd lasted 2 weeks. And I was sort of sitting outside watching all these like all stars inside being flocked by the fans and everything. And Felix came out, and number one, I mean, my kids, 2 of them are like sort of semi-professional rugby players. They're big boys. Ooh. 6 boys and a girl, and they're all grown-up kids, so they're not little. They're adults. And he came straight up to me and said, "I need to apologize for being such a douce. That I'm going to leave you to translate that." He said, "I did not play a game I was proud of, and I need to apologize to each of these kids." Wow. Felix and I, when I saw him in my tribe, my heart was just doing flip-flops. I could not have wanted a better person in my tribe. Whether he could help me, I would never have made an outward alliance with him because I would never have jeopardized his game. And I knew I was a walking time bomb. I mean, somewhere in my name, that must be like a middle name or something.
Yeah, middle.
But I love Felix, and I was so happy to see him there. A real man, a real character, a great father, great husband, great player. I hope he goes far in this season.
Abraham, I wanted to get your opinion about watching Tania and what was going on at camp. I told Tania many times that I was on her side. I would have voted her way. I thought she was making some great points. What did you think, being a former someone who was in the game? You know, you've been out there on the island. What do you think you would have been thinking in that moment?
You know, Survivor is a finicky game. You think you're doing what is the right thing, or you go a direction that you think everybody should think that this should be common sense, but it's only common sense to you. Your game is your game, and nobody else knows it. And when you see it aired on TV, you be like, "Nah, I probably shouldn't have done that." Like, what happened? And the beauty of your season in South Africa, what I love, this is the part that I love. The pre-merge people kind of get forgotten because you get voted out so early, and then it's really the people at the latter part of the show that a lot of people know. But I found with this US Survivor, I'll go somewhere and people are like, "Hey, Abraham, how you doing?" I'm like, "How do y'all know who I am? I was voted out early." But we're still in a part of this Survivor whole world deal. But to be able to meet a Felix and be able to have those relationships and stuff like that, and to come back again and play, I hope that US Survivor takes a look at this and say, "You know what? We want to recreate this on our side and give us a chance to come back."
Because you've had some fantastic people who've gone out so early for stupid reasons, like our season. I think it would make a fantastic
Look, my season, I was like, "Hey, keep the tribe strong. We won't have to go vote." I didn't know I was going to be voted out. I said, well, but you know what? I had the best time ever. They was like, "Well, what is it?" I was like, "Look, you don't understand. You don't see a lot of the stuff that drops on the edited floor. The walking up with the tribal flag, going to the challenge, giving it your all at the challenge. Just, I mean, being there with the tribe, talking to them, getting to know them, and just enjoying the experience. That's what I loved about the game of Survivor.
Absolutely.
Do I feel like I owe a couple of people some votes? Yes, I do. And I do want to go back and give them to them. So I'm gonna stop right there. They do. If you see me again on Survivor, some votes.
I think essentially we're all coming for the same reasons. We're coming to play the greatest game on earth. We're not coming to be nasty. We're not coming to be a selfish player. Yes, some people are playing a villain, but we're not coming in with ill intent. Coming in with all the right, feelings about it. We all want to win. We all want to make alliances. We all don't want to be first one out. We all want to just play the game. I mean, it's like a child in a playground. We get an obstacle course. Who gets obstacle courses? You know what I mean? So this is what we got to just keep remembering about it. The game is so much bigger than the game.
This is a fun question. Which challenge out of the 3 that you did was the hardest one, most difficult in the conditions, or however you want to look at that? Which challenge did you not like the most?
The last one, because I wasn't in it.
Oh,
It's really hard to sit on the bench, especially when you know you're not going to make like semi-final, to know that you're losing an opportunity to play one of those games. So sitting out, that was the hardest thing for me.
Mm.
You do want to play. And when I played mine, I made sure to enjoy every moment of it. And
that's what it's about.
You got different channels. We got sawdust in our face, in our eyes, and we got these tan bags that are heavier than what they told us when you put your hands on them. And we got these sleds. But at the back of your mind, somewhere you're saying, "I'm on Survivor."
Exactly. You will play anything. You will play as hard in every single activity. I mean, when I got to the top and I had to jump in my season, I don't like heights. I'm a rock climber, but I'm not used to throwing myself off.
A rock climber, really? I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, if ever you want to climb Table Mountain, you know where to find me. I'll sort you out. So we get to do amazing things. How great is that?
Well, before I wrap us up here, because we have gone way over. I know you're fine with that.
I haven't got my glasses on. Let me see.
Well, the 30-minute, we're at 45 minutes at the moment. So yeah, this 30 minutes this season is going to be tough for us, Abraham. I told Chappies the same thing. We just get talking about Survivor and we love it. And we're so laid back. We try to make this feel more like an open discussion than an interview. Like, all right, first question number 1, question number 2. We just want you guys to have fun. Looking back on the game and everything, like we want it to be relaxing, and I hope you had fun with us today. But I
absolutely
have another question. We always wrap up with this, and you already gave us the answer for it. But let's just say he called you tomorrow to go back, or
I'd go.
Or Australia calls you.
I'd go. That's what I'm talking about.
I'd go. I don't care who it is. I don't really care as long as I can spend time on a beach. I could forfeit the obstacles for something like survival thing, but give me a beach, give me another opportunity to build a shelter.
Naked and afraid.
Love it. Love it.
No,
bring it on.
That's the answer. That's the answer I usually get. Abraham, is there anything else you want to say before we kind of wrap all this up?
One, it's a pleasure to meet you. You're even more lovelier in person than on TV, and it's always great to meet somebody behind the episode, the season, because we only get like a snippet of who you really are, but you're fabulous in person. So thank you for allowing us to be able to do this with us. I met Randy through this adventure, and now we're together doing this, and this has been a great adventure. And thank you for your time today.
Hey,
thank you so much.
If I make, go ahead.
Randy, if Abraham can't make it anytime, you got my number. Just call me. I'll come.
See, you're so good at this because Abraham, you know the last thing that I say every single time, don't you?
He's like, "Hey, Abraham."
Well,
it's funny this time. This is funny. I'm at my mom's house, working on a project, and she's making me a sandwich. Man, I love my mom. And
that's what I'm gonna do. It's like noon for us right now, so I'm gonna go eat after this.
And I'm like, Mom,
I'm gonna roll. I'm gonna light that joint.
I said I had to jump on. I said, hey, Mom, I gotta jump on a podcast right quick. So I'm not even at home, but to be able to have this opportunity and just to hang out and just to talk Survivor and meet new people that have experienced the same experience has been great.
The last thing I always ask, well, see, it's weird to say it now because I always say the last question I ask is, would you play again? But the last thing I always say is this is an open invitation show. If you ever want to, if you even want to come on later this season and talk about one of the weeks of episodes or stuff, I'll stay in contact with you and stuff.
Stay in contact. Yeah, I think it would be inappropriate for me to come in on Pinty's interview.
I wouldn't come in on that. I wouldn't come
not
in
even
on that.
I want to be for that. Yeah, not even I could do. And Abraham, if he asks, just like no.
Do you watch? I know you're a big Survivor fan. Well, that's what I was going to say too. You said because of your age, you're like, this might be the last time I ever play Survivor. But I don't know if this is going to be the last time we see you because
I hope not.
Do you watch the Australian and US versions?
Yeah.
You do?
I watch all versions.
I wouldn't have said that because now I'm definitely going to have to invite you back at some point.
Yeah, no. My only problem is, getting access to it. I mean, I didn't even have access my season. So
do you have? we'll talk after. We'll talk after we go off the air here. I think I might have something that helps you out a little bit.
Okay, cool.
Randy's the man.
I'll have to get your email too, because I know you said social is not the way to go, and that's usually how I hit everyone up is on social.
Oh, Facebook. Facebook's about the only thing I do use, but I don't really know how to use anything else.
But thank you so much for taking time with us today. Feel free to stay after for a couple minutes here.
I will. I've loved it. Absolutely loved it.
Your personality is
just
so bright.
all I can say, Randy, is just keep applying and do it and do it and do it, because when you get through, you're going to have such an advantage with the insight that you're gaining through these interviews and through. I would love to support you. You've got to get in there.
I save every interview. One day my computer is going to be like, oh, too much data, because like, it's just the knowledge. And like I said, my memory is just so terrible that we'll have a full conversation. And then like a week later, I'll forget a lot of it, of what we said. Like if we did this exact same interview, probably 7 days down the line, I would ask something and you'd probably be like, Randy, you already asked me that. I'd be like, oh yeah, that's right. I remember that now.
Randy, you're asking a stoner. I wouldn't remember a thing.
I love it. You've been one of my favorite, and I truly mean that. That's not something I say a lot. You've been one of my favorites to interview, but we'll go ahead and end it there. But is there anywhere that fans can kind of catch you or hang out with you? Because I already know when I come to South Africa, I have to stop by Mama's house and see what's up.
Well, like I say, I'm only really on Facebook. And if you're interested in, the Owl Orphanage, the volunteer work I do there, or you want to just see me post random videos of me walking my dogs in the same nature reserve every single day, by all means connect. Otherwise, it's not really a very exciting life.
Look.
Oh, you have something, Abraham, before we log off here?
No, I'm going to eat a sandwich, man. I got to go back to work. I'm working on a project, so I'm in between projects, but Randy's such a great guy.
Abraham, Naked and Afraid project.
Look, wait a minute. Is it Naked and Afraid South Africa?
No, it's the Americans. They opened it up to international players.
Did they really?
Look.
Yeah, and we've seen 2 South African players already.
I don't want anybody to confuse and try to get me as a player. I'm only playing with you. So
that's cool.
I'm holding you up to that standard.
Hey, somebody gonna mess
around.
Oh my God,
how much fun would we have on this podcast if Abraham and I actually did manage to pull it off?
I'll be like, Randy can be the only podcast we go to.
Absolutely. We'll sign over our rights immediately.
Thank you. I'll end the recording with that. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure to follow us on Instagram and subscribe to the channel for even more Survivor South Africa content.